Restream, but StreamYard's like the same type of a program.
Huh.
Yeah, yes, we do. Yes, we do. I'm actually writing a sequel to it.
All right, when that's done, we got to talk to
These guys are pretty excited. That's great. You guys are gonna love this. I'm excited too. Love it.
Here you go, guys. Here's Jill on this one.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the On the Right Side podcast, coming to you from the America First Warehouse, live at 4 o'clock every Wednesday. I'm your co-host, Steve Levy, former New York State Assemblyman, former Suffolk County executive, and presently serving as the executive director of the fiscally conservative think tank, the Center for Cost-Effective Government. David Zare, my traditional co-host, is out for today, but we have an amazing guest host for a short time today. She's going to talk about her wonderful book, Like It Was Yesterday, A Journalist's Files on 9/11. That's the one, the only, Jill. Great to have you with us, Jill.
Thank you, Steve. Actually, it's a journalist file
Since 9/11, okay.
because it's a history of it.
Right.
Because we're talking about 9/11 since it happened, and the fact that it's not being taught in most schools. Children don't know what happened. Even young people who may have been alive at the time don't.
So this is Jill's live with Steve Levy.
You know, we just had our 250th
The Right Side broadcast.
right? And it was so amazing, it was so interesting to see the dichotomy of the demographics. Where half of the country was so gung-ho and excited about what we have here in this blessed country, and the other half, you know, it's like you look at the polls. You know, 26% of Democrats are proud, you know, to fly a flag. Our young kids cherish socialism, some even communism over free markets. And you wonder how this happens, and you realize it's all about history or a lack thereof. And I can almost understand it with the Iron Curtain and the Cold War, because some of these young kids don't know what it was about. But 9/11, you think it's fresh in their minds, but not so, Jill Cohen. Isn't that the case? What's happening here?
I do believe one of the things about 9/11 that I have researched and discovered is that it destroyed the generation. The generation that was in high school at the time, the people who were young enough to understand what was happening, and then they became parents, and they were so scared. 9/11 was a diabolical plan to frighten the American people. And that was achieved quite easily by the first plane, which got us all looking, and the second plane, which does. Were you watching?
You know, I was watching it live, and I saw the first plane hit, and even then I thought, That's not an accident.
Right.
It can't be an accident, you know, with a big plane like that, not a Piper Cub, but a big plane. And then when the second one hit, you knew for sure, there was
First,
it was just devastating.
right. And that is the crux, is that a second plane was designed to devastate
Right.
and to frighten.
Well, the interesting thing is, it backfired in a sense because it wound up for a short time uniting us all, right? We were never more united than the second year after 9/11. We were one. And but that's evaporated to the point now.
I'm talking about 9/11.
An Islamist socialist, really a Marxist, as the mayor of New York, you have communists and Islamists, and nothing. Muslims fine. We love Muslims. We have so many wonderful Muslims throughout the nation. Between a Muslim who integrates into America and an Islamist who wants to bring Sharia law and turn us into an Islamic
They don't
country.
share their values.
No, not there. But that's the Osama bin Laden descendants. And you would think that they'd be pushed off to the ash heap of history. They're gaining momentum here because of our immigration policies and what's not happening in our educational system.
It's called apathy. Apathy is what destroys a nation.
Have you gone into the schools? Have you seen what the curriculum is? And are we lacking? Is it something that's been sloughed off to the point where it's just another, part of the curriculum, a quick second, and that's it? Or we're really focusing?
No, not even. I researched it when I was writing my book. I discovered that when teachers, the school year is just starting on September 11th, and sometimes that's the first week of school. And the teachers don't want to start the first week of school talking about 9/11.
Because they think I bet part of it, they think it's a downer to give. I think part of it, I think they're scared. I think they're scared it's going
Oh, God, guys, I'm really tired. It's like podcast every podcast.
That's Islamophobic. If you talk about the reality and the facts of 9/11, how can you teach it without saying there was an Islamist, Osama bin Laden, who wanted to destroy Western civilization? And they're fearful of doing it because they're worried about ramifications from so many of the Marxists who have now infiltrated our educational system, even in K through 12, right?
Have you seen England?
Oh.
Have you seen Germany?
I know in England it's just so remarkable now where you see these white English women being raped by the gangs of Pakistanis, and they were so terrified, the authorities, to actually prosecute these people for fear of being called his own. But who
For
are
the past 50 years,
It's a
50 years of young British women being treated like garbage, being treated like, you know what? I mean, really ruining their lives. Hundreds of we found out on that stuff.
It's spread. So what's your
Sorry.
anecdote for this?
The phone keeps ringing. I can't stand it.
Author of
This book,
Like It Was Yesterday about 9/11.
Yeah.
What do we do as a society?
we talk about it. We started discussion with our children. You were talking about the teachers who don't want to talk about it.
Right.
Well, let's not forget who those teachers are and how old they are. They're in their
Hi, guys.
30s. They were children when 9/11 happened. So they don't want to talk about it because they were terrible.
Yeah.
They had to watch these towers come down. Maybe they know somebody who lost a parent. Maybe they themselves lost a parent, a neighbor. It doesn't matter. It is something that took away our comfort zone and showed us we don't have that. And I think at that age, now I also blame the drug crisis, fentanyl, all that stuff. That's the generation it hits. And those are the people whose little children are being raised by their parents.
Right. It is absolutely frightening, but you talk about the teachers. You got individual teachers that are absolutely marvelous, and most of them are God-fearing, good, loyal
Oh, I'm
Americans.
so tired.
But the teachers' unions, okay, are a whole different matter.
The school district, the school board,
Right.
The,
The unions
the,
are
the
Marxists
Department
as well.
of Education.
I mean, there's an avowed Marxist who heads the Chicago Teachers Association, and they were using taxpayer dollars to activate the kids on the social justice and get them to cut school, get on a bus and go protest and No King's Day. When you have that kind of mentality at the top of our educational system, it's no wonder they don't want to talk about 9/11. It's against their narrative. They want to knock down America so they can start up with their Marxist utopia. And the way to do that is to first destroy the institutions and the values of America and stop talking about 9/11.
That's why you gotta talk about it. So my book, a lot of people, they want to talk about 9/11 and they want to talk about, well, was it an inside job? Like somebody did this, who did it, what? No, I'm sorry, it's a murder mystery. It will be a murder mystery for as long as we don't know what happened.
Well, how about this candidate? She just won her primary Marxist candidate, who was asked point blank, were we deserving of 9/11? And were we responsible for it, America? And she basically said, well, yeah, because what we did is we destabilized the Middle East, and then you left the impression to the people there that their only recourse was violence, excusing 9/11, and they are now being elevated. Yeah, you would have thought that's disqualifying, right, Jill?
Yes, absolutely. And then we heard the communist mayor of New York City, and I'm not going to call him socialist.
No, you're right, it's communist.
Sheep and wolf.
He is
sorry,
a
wolf and
Marxist.
sheep's clothing.
That's
That's
right.
what that is.
That's
So
right.
the communist mayor then stood up and said, we think we're great Americans because we're so rich and powerful. Do you think we're great because we're rich and powerful? Are you rich and powerful? I'm not rich and powerful.
Well, regardless of whether someone is or isn't, the beauty of this country is our Constitution.
Our freedom, that's what we
And our
love.
freedom, and I talk about it all the time, I'm going to talk about it in a future segment here, the 1619 Project by Nicole Hannah Jones from the New York Times, wrote the book. It's now in 4,000 schools saying that the United States, America was founded to create a slave colony, not for freedom, to create freedom, but to create a slave
That's right.
colony. And that's what our kids are learning, Jill. We got to
I
admit,
did not know that.
you're going to write a sequel now, I hear, right? Tell us about it.
We'll have to write a sequel because reading this book, I learned so much, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to go further with it. There's telling people about 9/11, but then there's also telling people stories about people their age, 20 years old, and how they reacted.
30 seconds. Where do people find you, your podcast, and get your book?
So go to jillbooks.com. That's Jill writes books. So it's JILLBOOKS. And you can watch my podcast on YouTube and on Facebook at The Beach Report with Jill.
Oh, this is great. I'm so glad you're here because the folks out there get it. They know we have to make sure our kids never, ever forget. And as long as we have someone like investigative reporter Jill Cohen, they never will. Thank you, my dear, for joining us. And thank you for all of your people joining us in too on the podcast. We'll be back soon.
Most people
Okay, good job. Okay, so yep, here we are at the America First Warehouse. Again, the most patriotic place in the land. It changes here all the time. If you get to come, this is the place to come. If you come up to New York, Ronkonkoma, New York, you need to come here and see this place. This place is absolutely amazing. This just isn't a warehouse. This is history in the making now. See? And you can go here at the First American Warehouse. Okay. It is the American Warehouse. And it's amazing. It is amazing, guys. It is absolutely amazing. I'm just showing you. Some will show later. I'll start streaming because I need to start streaming because Jill's going home. So I need to start streaming and show you the rest. So I'll be back. But I love it. I absolutely love it here.
Guys, you want to just zoom in on me on this next one? So you want, is it okay to show you here or,
Okay. I will talk to you in a little bit. I'm going to finish my lunch and I'll be back. I love you all. God bless. Talk to you soon.
well, you know, what